Hey guys, thanks for tuning us in for this 28th episode of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Special guests for this episode include Koda Kern of Chamomile and Whiskey, director Ken Kwapis, comedian and sidekick Artie Hoffman, and Olympic gold medal figure skater Scott Hamilton. If you would, please take the time to subscribe, drop a like, comment, or leave some feedback. Our first guest is Koda Kern of the band Chamomile and Whiskey. We'll be talking about the new single and video that are already available and a new album that's releasing October 30th. Chamomile and Whiskey. I even asked him how to pronounce it before we started this, and I still epic failure is it's what I do the best. Chamomile and Whiskey. We've got on the line with us. We've got Koda from Chamomile and Whiskey. And Koda, first off, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me. No problem.
Now, Koda, tell us a little bit. I was looking at the backstory of the group, and it's better off if you tell it than me.
Yeah, well, we started the band, I guess, 9 years ago now. We're out of Nelson County, Virginia. We've been based out of Charlottesville, and made a couple records. We've been touring for a long time, and I guess it was last year. We had gone through some lineup changes, and it was time to make a new record. So we had been contacted by Ken Coomer, who used to play the drums for Wilco, Uncle Tupelo, and he wanted to produce our new record. So we spent a lot of last year down in Nashville, cutting the record with kind of our new lineup, a little more electric, a little more on the kind of southern rock, alt country route, so it's kind of cool to have a new record coming out that represents the new lineup of the band.
And what's the hardest part when you get new lineups, new members? I know it happens all the time in groups, but how long of a transition period is there for the formality or the comfortableness to breed itself out, if you will?
Well, I think it depends. For a while there, we kind of had a different bass player every year, but. It depends on kind of who you're replacing. I mean, the big thing that was a difference for us was our buddy Lavin, who is from Ireland, used to play the banjo with us and write some of the songs. He had kind of decided he wanted to go back to Ireland. I mean, it was nothing personal, no issues that way. But so that was kind of a big move for us because we lost some of the songs that we had, and he had such a unique style. So instead of trying to replace him, we decided to add a guitar player instead because we didn't really think he's such a unique character. We didn't think anybody could really, we didn't need someone trying to do what he did. We just thought we'd kind of take things in a new direction. And so it actually wasn't as hard as we thought because a lot of the songs that I was writing, they wound up on this new record. They all kind of lent themselves more to a kind of a heavier sound anyways. And we just kind of let things kind of take their course as opposed to trying to force anything. And I think that made it easier for us.
And with the way the music scene is today, Koda, I mean, not so much genre-specific music out there. Anyway, what genre would you classify yourself as?
Man, I've been doing this for a living for a while now, and I still can't figure out how to answer that question. We'd probably be better off if I could, but I don't know. I mean, I would say, I don't know, something maybe like. I think that in one of the things I saw recently, they called it deep roots rock. I don't know, maybe like rowdy Americana is a term we've used before. But yeah, I don't know. It's, we mix southern rock and country and with a little bit of, kind of folk. And we used to put a little more Irish in there. There's not a lot of Celtic influence on this record, but it's just kind of, each song kind of sometimes feels different to me. But I probably should have a more catchy phrase answer for that, but I haven't figured it out.
Now, Koda, where did music come from? Where did it initiate in your life?
Well, my dad was a songwriter, and he didn't really play out much or anything, but he wrote a lot of songs, and so there was always guitars and pianos kind of laying around the house, and he was always listening to Bob Dylan and John Prine and great songwriters like that, Neil Young. And so it was kind of around a lot as a kid, and I messed around a little bit, but I really didn't get serious about it until I was in high school. I was really into acting, and I would do a lot of musicals and stuff, and then I would go to parties, and you'd see there'd be a guy at the fire playing a guitar and singing the song, and you really seemed to get a lot of attention from the pretty girls. So it's kind of like, man, maybe I should I should I should try start doing that. And it just kind of once I started playing, it just kind of just made sense. And I wound up dropping out of college and we got a record deal, and it just kind of was. I loved everything about playing music. I loved writing the songs and playing, but I also just love the whole scene and just meeting other musicians and the whole everything that comes with it just kind of suited me. So I really have been doing it pretty seriously since I was probably 19 or 20 at this point. So it's been a while, but yeah, it's been my whole adult life basically. Music's been the main thing I've got going on.
And Koda, for you, this year is obviously unlike anything we've seen, and obviously the music community hit this week with the legendary guitarist. I mean, anybody that ever dreamed, aspired, or touched a guitar since the late 70s, early 80s, Eddie Van Halen was one of the tops. And for you, Koda, I just want to give you a chance. What you felt when you heard the news?
Yeah, it was like another hit, man. It's like I feel like we've lost so many great musicians recently. Yeah, I mean, Eddie Van Halen was. I'm not much of a shredder. I wish that I was, but for me, Eddie Van Halen was the song that I really loved that he was on was the Michael Jackson song "Beat It." His solo on that, I remember being in high school and just like not understanding how a guitar could sound that cool. Like I just couldn't. It was just mind-blowing to me, And of course, I love Van Halen too, but that song was what stuck out to me when I heard the news, And I know that, for me, I mean, I always had obviously a lot of respect for him, and he did so many cool things. But I know I have some friends who are really devoted lead players who have been really, hit hard because he was just especially if that's what you were really going after. He is such an innovative, player, and like you said, he really did kind of changed the game, and I think he influenced pretty much anyone that played any kind of rock and roll after he came around.
So talking about the year that is 2020, for you, how has 2020 looked different, and maybe what has that inspired you, or maybe made you rethink kind of the format, if you will?
Yeah, man, it's been crazy. I mean, I remember, I think it was February. I was talking to my mom on the phone, talking to Mama, and just telling her, like, the record's done, and we're going to put it up this spring. The new agent's great. We got all the people right. I mean, it's really excited. It's going to be a big year for us. We're going to be touring all around this record. I felt like everything had come together, And then all of a sudden, every show we have is canceled. The album release is being postponed. And it was just kind of crazy. But at the same time, so at first, it was definitely... it was hard at first, but at the same time, this whole summer I wasn't on tour, like I normally would have been, and I've had a lot of free time. I've been writing more than I probably ever have. I got lots of new material. I've learned how to do more with sound recording. I've got things that I've kind of put off for years because I'm usually busy. I've had the time to kind of deep dive into a little bit more. So as frustrating as aspects of it have been, and as hard as, some of it's been, and I mean, I certainly miss playing live shows, but at the same time, I've been trying to kind of see the positive in it and remember that, there might not be another time like this where I'm kind of forced to stay still, and to try to find some silver linings and find ways that I can kind of improve and enjoy myself that normally would be more difficult if I was on the road.
That's right. Now, for you, has the inspiration been harder to find or easier?
Man, it's been easier. I don't know if that's true for everybody. I mean, I think, for me, like I always wished, and maybe I'll get better at it, I always wished I could do more of the like Bruce Springsteen putting himself in the shoes of this character and writing a song from their perspective. But most of what I write is at least, somewhat tied into my own personal stuff. So whenever, when you have like kind of heavy stuff going on, for me, that usually means it's going to be, better for the writing because I've got a lot to work with, so, and again, the time has been nice too. So for me, I've been about as creative in this last year as I ever have been, maybe more. But, I don't know if that's true for everybody. I think everybody handles things differently, but for me, it's been a good outlet to have all these new songs. I mean, I've got more than enough tunes that I've written this year for the next record. So that kind of feels good that like, at least I'm accomplishing something while I'm just kind of sitting around.
That's good. Now tell our listeners just a little bit. The new album, Red Clay Heart, it's coming out on the 30th. Give us a little insight into the latest album.
Yeah, so I'm really really excited about it. I mean, everybody usually is, I guess, when the record's coming out. But this record, it was kind of like we were putting all of our chips on the table. You know, we had been doing this for a while. We got the opportunity to record with Ken in Nashville, which is just kind of a classic story. You know, like, all right, let's go to Nashville and make the big record. You know, but. So yeah, for us, we just kind of felt like, you know, things have been moving along well. We've kind of been growing, but we needed to do something big, you know. So it was a great experience. Ken is an awesome person. We just got along so well, and we just went down there a handful of times, like 4 or 5 times last year for, you know, 3 or 4 days at a time, and just kind of cut the tracks really live. We didn't overproduce anything. There's a lot of raw stuff that made the record. And I think it just worked out really well for us because we just kind of leaned into the idea that we're not going to ever be the most polished band. We're not going for like some really pristine sound. We're really going for more the kind of the emotion of the songs. And Ken just kind of got that. So it's a lot, you know, it's a pretty eclectic record. There's some heavy, slower, sad stuff. There's some kind of fun up-tempo stuff. But it felt like the songs just all kind of fit together well to be on a collection together. So I don't know. I can still listen to it, and I'm not tired of it yet, which has got to be a good sign because everything else that I've recorded, everything else I've done in the past, you know, I'm like, by the time and it might be partially because we weren't in the studio as long, but like you listen to the same thing over and over, you're like, okay, well, the record's coming out, and I never want to hear it ever again. I'm not tired of this one yet, so that's giving me hope.
Now, what have you had to focus on technology a little bit more this time around because of you know, doing Facebook Lives and making sure to stay connected socially as well?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, we finished recording the record before all this started. So from the album's perspective, we didn't need to do anything like that. 'Cause I've got friends who are learning to record at home because they're not done tracking stuff. But yeah, I mean, as far as not playing shows and trying to keep an audience, you know, we've done some of the live streams. Honestly, that's not my favorite way to go about it. I know some people like it. I think some people are kind of tired of them, but which I can understand. But yeah, you know, we try to, you know, you try to be creative, and you know, social media is I have a really love-hate relationship because it's, in a way, it's great that you can have this free way of, you know, connecting with people and putting up stuff and promoting your band, sharing your music. But at the same time, I feel like it kind of can be a little bit like, I don't know, people take it a little too seriously, or maybe are a little too worried about it. So it's kind of, I go back and forth on it some, but yeah, I mean, we're just, at this point, it's tough. And we're trying to do a local socially distant live show for the album release, which I think hopefully that'll be announced tomorrow. But, you know, we're going to try to do something live, but it's, you know, it's tough because, you know, most of my life has been built around playing shows. I mean, that's really what musicians do. Most musicians in my world, that's how they make their money, is playing live shows. So, you know, we're trying to adapt, and we try to stay, you know, we try to get better with the technology stuff, but at the same time, it's kind of a day-by-day thing, I guess, trying to figure out the best way to do things in 2020. The
right hashtags to use too, right?
Yeah, I know. It's like I need to find like a college kid or someone who's really good at social media to kind of do stuff for us, because I don't mind it, but I'm definitely not an expert. You know, we make fun of ourselves a lot for kind of always being behind the 8 ball with social media, even though we're all, you know, our band, when we started, you know, I'm 30 now, and so I should be, you know, totally proficient with this stuff, but it's not my strongest suit.
Now the first single and the video are available now, way back, and I also want to give you a chance to talk about the video and the process of that as well.
Well, that was a lot of fun, man. And so way back we knew we wanted it to be our first song on the record and the first single. And so, you know, for those of you who've seen the video, we've got this local woman, Emily Krebsky, who's basically playing me in the video. And she's just a great musician. She has a band called Dropping Julia here in Charlottesville. And she had told me that she wanted to cover that song. And I thought that was a really cool idea. And it just kind of came together. And I called in a bunch of favors. So we got some really good filmmakers into our favorite bar, the Whiskey Jar, and we just kind of packed it out one night when they would normally be closed, and basically just threw a party. And it was so much fun. But one of the things that wound up happening was with the whole 2020 thing, I wound up editing the whole thing myself, which is something I'd never done before. I've always wanted to learn how to do that. And so it took me a long, long time. But I'm just sitting here looking at these images of my band and a bunch of our friends and fans just dancing and having the best time in this bar all through the spring when we're just not doing anything in our lives. It was kind of tough, because, my friends know, like, I like to be out at the bar. I'm a social guy. And so it was like, every day I'm like editing this video, looking at we used to have these great times. We used to pack in these cool dive bars and have so much fun. And I guess those days aren't around anymore. But it's fun to have it out now because I think it's kind of resonated with people. It reminds them, what things were like before all this stuff started.
That's right. Now, if folks want to find more information, Chamomile and Whiskey, I know you guys got the website, and can they pre-order the album as well?
Yeah, so if you go, I think, ChamomileWhiskey.com, Facebook, I think our Instagram handle's Chamomile and Whiskey too. And yeah, we've got links to pre-order the record. You can find the first couple songs on Spotify. And I think we have another single coming out soon, another video. So we're going to keep kind of leaking stuff until the day of the full release. But yeah, we'll have all the links and all that kind of stuff up on our social media and our website as well.
All right. And again, from Chamomile and Whiskey, I don't think I said his last name there in the early part, Koda Curl with us. And Koda, it's been great to visit with you this morning, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon. Looking forward to the release date coming up on the 30th.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Again, for more information, visit them online at ChamomileandWhiskey.com. Our next guest is director Ken Kwapis. He's got the book out called But What I Really Want to Do Is Direct, Lessons from a Life Behind the Camera, and he's spent a day or two behind the camera. We've got director Ken Kwapis on the line with us this morning. And first off, Ken, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Cameron. Thanks for having me.
Now, did you ever think that you were going to sit down and write a book about your life when you first got the dream of going into to directing?
No. This is my first book, and all I can say is what inspired me was not only the directing I've done, but over the past few years I've been mentoring a lot of up and coming directors, and I just felt like there wasn't really a book out there that. I don't know. There wasn't really a book by a working director that people could read. So I feel like I have some good tips to share with up-and-comers. So I started writing it, and it kind of snowballed into both a how-to book, but also a memoir. So it's really, as much as anything, it's my story.
Now was the very first break that you got into directing? What was it a smash hit, or did it take a minute to get to that level, if you will?
The first job I had as a director was I directed an after-school special, or I'm going to be more specific. It was called the CBS Afternoon Playhouse, which was CBS's version of the after-school special. And I would say the great thing about that was it was totally under the radar. It allowed me to kind of develop my chops, in relative anonymity. But the first feature film I directed in 1985 was entitled Sesame Street Presents Follow That Bird, the first feature film to star the Sesame Street characters. So, pretty soon, right out of the gate, I was working with such luminaries as Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch.
My question is, did they prepare you for the high maintenance that you were going to have to deal with later?
No. In fact, it's just the opposite. I would say I was spoiled because Jim Henson, Frank Oz, and Carol Spinney, who of course created not only Big Bird but Oscar the Grouch, they were so gracious, and again, this was my maiden voyage as a feature film director, and I only years later did I realize what a gracious group of collaborators I had, right, from the start.
And who was
because
it that...
other people are more complicated.
Yeah, I know, right? Now, who was it that was the first inspiration for directing in the first place? I mean, most people always say, I want to grow up and be in front of the screen, and you're obviously the opposite. So who was the inspiration for that?
Well, there wasn't any. I didn't know any directors. I didn't know any film or TV people. I grew up in a small town in southern Illinois. As a kid, at a certain point, I just became very intrigued by the idea that the stories I was enjoying, the movies I was enjoying, were done by someone. That there was someone, pulling the strings. There was someone making choices that sometimes made a story better or not. So I just became, fascinated by who was that person when I was the director. So I kind of tuned into that just very early as a kid.
And is a TV series or films, which of the two is the hardest to prepare for mentally, I guess, as a director?
They're both challenging in different ways. I mean, again, the great thing about feature film stories is that you can follow a character, over the course of one long form story, and the challenge with with series, obviously, is that it's almost the opposite. You have to kind of, in a way, keep characters and their storylines alive week after week over long stretches of time. I mean, they're just both challenging in different ways. I mean, I will say the one great thing about series is that, if, in a funny way, if something doesn't work, well, that's okay. You'll improve it next week. But so I would say sometimes feature filmmaking, things feel a little more precious, but there's something nice and just a little bit unpretentious about the television making process.
And for you, what do you take the most pride in? Is it the finished product? Is it the awards, or is it the friendships and the lifelong relationships that have come as a part of it?
Well, I would say the relationships are the key thing for me, but also, and I talk about this a lot in the book. I mean, you can't control the outcome. You can't control what the critics are going to say, and you can't control whether anyone buys a ticket or tunes into the show. But you can control the process. And for me, my yardstick for success is like, do I improve the process from job to job, from film to film, from television episode to television episode? So that's in a way the big takeaway from the book is keep focused on the process. Don't get hung up on the outcome.
And Ken, in times like we're dealing right now, times we've never come across before, do you find times like now harder or a little easier to find inspiration? Well,
I mean, obviously, during the past few months, production on film and TV kind of ground to a halt. It's starting to come back now, but I feel like in a way, it sort of allowed a lot of creative people to kind of have a moment of introspection. To kind of think about the kinds of stories that can be told in this environment. I mean, I've been in a lot of discussions with creative people about coming up with stories that involve two characters. Can you come up with a good story that only involves one character? Because that may be the only way to get a film or TV show made right now. So I think in a way it was actually, it provided an opportunity for people to really get creative.
That's right. And again, the new book, but what I really want to do is direct Lessons from a Life Behind the Camera. Ken, I want to make sure and let our listeners know where they can find out not only more about the book, but everything else you've got going on as well.
Well, I do have a website, which is called But What I Really Want to Do Is Direct.com, so you can definitely find out information there. And that's the main place to go. But I really think that I really am excited about your listeners taking a peek at this book.
All right. Well, Ken, it's been great to visit with you. I'm looking at the book here. I'm looking forward to spending some more time with it this afternoon myself. Have a great rest of your week, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
Got Artie Hoffman on the line with us. And first off, Artie, thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It really is. It's my pleasure to be here.
And Artie, when you talk about being a psychic, when did you know that you had a special ability?
When I was 27, is when I found out. I had nothing before the age of 27, and I was like your regular average Joe, and nobody in my family has what I have. And one day, I had everything going right in my life at the time, but I was very unsatisfied inside. I was about 27. I was 27 years old, very frustrated in my life. And I'm having a little conversation with God, and I said, God, I need clear answers. And I said, please don't scare the hell out of me when you give me those answers. And all of a sudden, I go into my kitchen, and I look in my junk mail, and there's a postcard there, and it said, how would you like to develop your psychic ability and intuitiveness? Go to the Edgar Cayce Foundation in Virginia Beach. And I said, wow, I didn't learn how to do it. I figured you had it or you didn't. So I asked my wife, who was my wife at the time, want to go to this? It looks pretty interesting. I wasn't looking at it like it was the answer to my prayers. I did it just for shits and giggles. And so she said, I don't care about that. She goes, you can go if you want. I'm not interested. I said, all right. So I went away for that one weekend. They taught you how to open up your heart and mind to be 100% unconditional. And they broke us up into little groups. There was 50 of us in this one large room, and we were from all different parts of the country. And so people were telling me how accurate I was with my thoughts. They said, whatever thought you get for the other person, don't judge it. Don't worry about if you don't understand it. Just say what's on your mind. And so when I was with the person, whoever I was with, I would tell people what's on my mind. And people would tell me that I was pretty accurate. And I was like amazed that I could actually meet somebody who I never met before and tell them certain little things about themselves that I never knew before. And it was really, really exciting. So when I went home after that weekend seminar, I got myself a deck of spiritual cards, and I was reading for friends and family for the next few years just for the fun of it. And people were telling me how accurate I was. And so I got to a point in my life where I made some investments and I needed to make some extra money to support my investments. And so I'm sitting on the couch and I'm thinking to myself, what can I do to make some extra money other than my regular job that I was doing? Because I also own my own window cleaning, power washing business. And I've had that for 36 years. And it's called Peeping Tom's Window Cleaning. How do you like that?
It shows your sense of humor.
There you go. You got to have a sense of humor if you're going to hire me.
That's right.
And on the card, it literally says binoculars not included. So here I am. I'm sitting on the couch, and I said, you know what? I know how to do readings. I'll just throw an ad in the paper, and it said, if I don't pull through, no charge. Because I didn't want people to think that I was ripping them off if I wasn't pulling through. But 90% of the people paid me, and my career took off just like wildfire, just word of mouth. And little by little, it just kept on getting more and more momentum. And I've been on major popular radio stations. I've been on Fox TV. I've performed at Trump casinos in Atlantic City. I was asked to perform at the Palace of Versailles in France. And so it was really cool. I'm around 30 years old. My late 20s, early 30s, I was doing stand-up comedy for a little bit in New York. And I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I mean, I was always known as a funny guy, but I didn't feel comfortable being up on stage trying to be funny or to be funny. It just wasn't my thing. But when I speak about spirituality, I'm very comfortable speaking in front of a large group of people because it's not about me. It's not about trying to make people laugh. It's about sharing important information to people and giving them beautiful words of wisdom. And I'd be channeling it all. And, so many people have come up to me thanking me for giving them such insight and to make such a change in their life. So it was really, really cool And like I said, I just felt very grateful for having such a beautiful gift. And, it's not that I'm more special than anybody else. It's just that I had a desire of wanting to learn more and more about it. And the more you get into anything, the better you're going to become. So it's like, some people say, oh, Artie, you're so lucky, that you have a gift and that God speaks to you or the angels speak to you. And I wish I had that. And I always tell people it's not who does God choose to speak to, because God speaks to everyone. The angels speak to everyone. It's just who chooses to listen.
Now,
and that's the key thing.
How hard was it for you to take the reality in whenever you finally opened up and you got the realization?
Oh, it was like right away. It was like from that one weekend seminar. It was like at the seminar. And then when I went home, I got amazed every single time I told somebody and made a prediction about the future or that what was going to happen. And it actually happened. I said, holy crap. And I would be amazed, because I thought I was just like a little schoolboy telling little white lies to people, just telling them my thoughts and what they want to hear or what I literally thought most of the time I was just making up stories. And then people would be telling me that all this stuff came true. And then same thing with lottery numbers. I'd be giving people lottery numbers and, people ask me for it. I can't give it. But while I'm in a reading, if it comes through, then I share it with everybody. But I've easily given out over 100 winning lottery numbers or gambling situations or investments with people over the years. And, but it has to come to me naturally. And, so there's lots of really, really cool stories. I'll share a few of them with you if you don't mind.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you to share it, just a few of those.
So there was a girl who walks into my place, because people say, are things predestined to happen or do we have a choice? And it's actually a little of both. There are certain things that are predestined to happen. Come hell to high water, they're going to happen. And then there are other times where you have a choice. When you have a heads up in advance of what to expect, you have free will of choice of what you choose to do. And so there are times where people will ask me, hey, Art, what do you see for my relationship? Well, I said, well, if you stay, this is what's going to work. This is what's going to happen. If you choose to leave, this is what's going to happen. If you go with this guy, this is what's going to happen. If you go by yourself, this is what's going to happen. All right, well, what do you see me doing? I said, I don't know. I said, it's your free will and choice. I just told you what to expect according to your choices. So sometimes it goes like that, and other times it's just black and white. This is what I see happening. So, any case, this girl walks into my place, and as soon as she walked into my place, she said, Artie, because I've been thinking about you every single day for the last 2 years. I go, really? And, not that I was, I was flattered that she's, somebody's thinking about me that much, but not on a sexual note, but I was flattered. So I said, all right, so, why were you thinking about me for the last 2 years? She says, I came here and I saw you 2 years ago. I don't remember who I read for. I don't remember what I say to people. Most psychics, mediums don't have a good memory. They don't. It's just like when we're with the person in the moment, that's it. We disconnect. At least for me, I could speak. I disconnect because I don't want to be emotionally attached to anybody's garbage or karma or whatever. So I'm with you in the moment. I'm giving you all this information, and then all of a sudden I'm in a different state of mind. So this girl comes in and she says, you read for me here 2 years ago. And I didn't remember that. And we sat at this table and you held my hand. And you said to me, you started singing the song to me. As soon as you held my hand, you started singing the song by AC/DC. Highway to hell, I'm going to highway to hell. You started singing that song to me as soon as you held my hand, and you said to me, if I don't stop doing what I'm doing, I'm going to get caught real soon, and I'm going to end up in jail. And you kept on advising me, stop doing what I should not be doing. And she goes, and a week later, I got caught at doing something I should not have been doing, and I got thrown in jail for 2 years. And every day I woke up, and she went to jail. And she goes, every day I woke up and I said, why didn't I listen to Artie? Why didn't I listen to Artie? And, so she had a choice. There are times where I might see accidents in the future. It doesn't have to happen because I'm giving you a heads up to be defensive, you know. There's a lady, I wrote a book called Angels and Answers, and the story's in the book.
Now,
And,
is it hard for you to share bad news, if you will? I mean, obviously you want to try to lift people's spirits, but does it get easier with time, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's not so much as what you say, but it's how you say and how you come across. So if I'm going to deliver, I'll say hard news. I call bad news hard news. If I deliver hard news to someone, then I usually give them the solution on how to overcome it or what to expect so that they could. So I put people in an emotional, healthy state of mind. So I give them, so when I see shit about to happen with them, what I do is I tell them the antidote. I tell them, what to do or how to do it. Now, when you're emotionally invested in someone or something, just because I'm giving you the answers doesn't mean you're still going to do the right thing. Because you're emotionally invested, the ego wants what it wants. So, but logically, from my point of view, from what I see, from what the spiritual world is telling me, you don't want to do this and you don't want to do that. Or maybe you want to try this, you want to try that. So, like I said, people will go after what it is they really want. But if you're smart, you'll listen to your gut. You'll listen to what I have to say or what the spiritual world has to say, because I'm just the messenger, so.
Now, Artie, is it something that you're able to channel at will, or is it something that it comes upon you and you maybe aren't expecting it?
Well, when I first started this, it would just come to me out of left field. It wasn't at will. It just happened. I would get these thoughts and premonitions about people. That's how I met my second wife. I kept on getting these premonitions about her. And I was married at the time, and she was engaged at the time. And I said, there's no way I'm ever going to be with her, nor did I even think like that. We were just friendly acquaintances at the time. And I shared with her information because when I was going to bed, I kept on getting messages. You got to tell her this. You got to tell her that. You got to tell her this. You got to tell her that. And like for 2 days in a row, I couldn't go to sleep because this spirit kept on telling me to tell her things. So I called she was my friend at the time who later on became my wife, but I called her up and I said, Katz, I said, I got some spiritual message for you. I said, it's none of my business. I said, do you want me to tell you what I saw or do you want me to just let it go? And she goes, no, go for it. So I started talking to her for like 10 minutes straight. And I'm telling her all these things, what I'm getting. And she's just sitting there quietly listening to what I have to say. And we were talking by phone. I wasn't with her in person. And so I said to her after I got finished talking, I said, is there anything that I said that made sense to you whatsoever? Because I have no clue what I just told you. I'm only telling you these feelings and these emotions and what you're going through. And she goes, it's really interesting. She goes, you're telling me things only I know. She goes, my best friends don't know. My fiance doesn't know. My parents, she goes, nobody knows what you just told me except me and you. And I got a shock throughout my spine in that moment when she told me that. And then I started, developing feelings for this girl. And so I met up with another friend of mine who is also very psychic. And I felt like crap because now I'm with a woman who I really didn't want to be with at the time. And it wasn't because of this girl, because I've already had these strange, weird feelings going on about my relationship. I was there, I was trying to make it work, and it was just very difficult for me emotionally. And I got tired of playing the game. I really did. But then I go to meet my other friend who was very psychic. Her name was Charlotte. And I knock on her door, and I'm feeling like crap inside because I don't know what to do with these emotions or feelings. So as soon as she opened the door, she looked at me. She goes, hey, Art, how you doing? You look great. I go, I do? She goes, congratulations. You look like you just met your soulmate. I go, really? She blew me out of the water. And then she told me what was to be with my relationship and how I was going to end up being with this one. I said, I cannot see that at all. I could not see myself getting a divorce. I couldn't see myself being with this other girl. She was like flawlessly drop dead gorgeous. She was a runner-up for Miss Wisconsin back in the day, literally. And she was a world travel model. I said, there's no way someone like me is going to get a girl like her. And lo and behold, thank God for personality. So, I mean, not that put it this way. It's not that I'm a bad looking guy in a sense, you know, but I never put myself as a GQ, but, you know, but anyway, yeah, it's just life just so happens that we ended up being together, and it was pretty cool, you know. And like I was saying to you, I started talking to you about my book. I wrote a book called Angels and Answers. You know, you can get it on my website, artiehoffman.com. But so in my book, Angels and Answers, there's a story in there, and I'm doing a reading for this one girl at a party. I do parties also, besides private readings that I do for the public. I'm just as accurate over the phone as I am in person. So if people called me up for a reading, I would be just as accurate over the phone as I am in person. So anyway, so I'm doing a party. I call them Artie parties. So I'm doing a party at this one person's house, and I'm reading for this one lady. Now, when I connect to the other side, when I'm connecting to people's deceased loved ones, that's known as a medium. A psychic predicts the past, present, and future, and will tell you outcomes. A medium is someone who communicates to the deceased, people who passed away, and I communicate with angels. So when I communicate to the deceased, to the other side, I'll tell you, you know, let me look at a picture of whoever you want to talk to. And when I look in their eyes, they start communicating thoughts to me. So I'm looking at this girl's mother's picture, and at the end of her reading, it was a half hour was up, and I'm giving her all this information about her mother and about her life and yada, yada, yada. So at the end of the reading, she said to me, she goes, you know, Art, she goes, I'm having a really hard time believing the fact that you're actually connecting to my mother, that you're talking to my mother. I said, well, I can only tell you what the spiritual world shares with me. She goes, some of the things that you told me were specific, that I give you credit, that, you know, that no one else would know, but you know, that you're telling me. But also, you know, you told me some general things that could relate to anybody, but it did have to do with my mom. And she goes, but I don't know, I'm just having a hard time believing that you're actually communicating to my mother herself. So I said, let me look at your mother's picture one last time and I'll see what she could come up with. So I looked at her mother's picture and I said to her, your mom is showing me cows. She goes, what do you want me to do with that? I said, I don't know, your mom's showing me cows. So in my eyes mind, I saw all the cows getting up and they were all mooing. And so I looked at her and I said, I don't know why I'm doing this, but moo. And she started to cry. She started to get all teary-eyed. And I go, what's the matter? And she points to her mother's picture and she said, that's her name. I go, what are you talking about? Her name's Muriel, but everyone called her Moo. I said, there you go. Here's your picture. Now get out of here.
Now, Artie, if folks want to find more information, like you said, not only about the book, but about your readings and about shows, I know eventually some shows have got to be coming back soon, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I do a Sunday night Facebook Live show. Every Sunday night I do free readings for the public. It's called Angels and Answers. So if you went to my website, Artie Hoffman, Angels and Answers, you'll see my Facebook Live show that I read for people for an hour for free every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And so my website is artiehoffman.com. You could email me, artiehoffman@gmail.com, if you want to get a hold of me personally or if you want to have a reading or a party. I also do fundraisers. And my email is artiehoffman@gmail.com. My website's artiehoffman.com. And my phone number to reach me at is 732-778-7173. So that's the way to get a hold of me. And if you want the book or if you want to have a party or a reading or speaking. And I have fun with it. I do have fun with it. You know, when I'm up there speaking, I'm a psychic and I'm like Billy Crystal all in one. I joke around a lot while I give the messages, and but when it comes to real serious stuff, I mean, I do get to the point, So,
and again,
but, it's very cool. I feel very blessed.
And again, the website is artiehoffman.com. And Artie, I appreciate you taking some time to get introduced. Hopefully we can have a revisit in a couple of weeks, maybe in a month, and have you back on.
That sounds awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, Artie, you have a great rest of your week, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Sounds like a plan, my friend. You take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And our final guest of the episode is legendary Olympic skater Scott Hamilton. We'll be talking about his Live Your Days platform. Always good to visit with our friends. We've got Olympic gold medalist Scott Hamilton on the line. And Scott, good to talk to you again, my friend.
Well, it's great to talk to you. This is awesome. What a great day today is.
That's right. And Scott, I want to talk about, boy, this is timely as well, the Live Your Days platform that launched on Tuesday. And Scott, where did this come for you? Or is this just kind of the mantra that you've been living by anyway?
Well, it's, kind of. I guess when your days are threatened, you kind of appreciate them a little bit more. And I always like to, sort of mention my unique hobby of collecting life-threatening illnesses. And it's not one I recommend. I think stamps and coins, especially coins now, I guess, would be a much better hobby to get into. But, it came out of 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with my third brain tumor. And it was really interesting. This one, the first one ignited my faith. The second one just felt like I got kicked in the stomach. And the third one was, my response to it was just really different. It was like, okay, I'm not symptomatic. They found it on a scan. So I think I'm just going to press pause right here, right now. And there was something in the back of my mind that really just gets strong. And so I didn't know if it meant physically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. So I kind of chose all the above, and I just decided to live and just to get healthy and be busy and be productive. And it was amazing that I did an interview for People.com and right after the diagnosis, and whatever I said, however I said it, I chose to be joyful in that reality that I'm dealing with another brain tumor, especially after the previous one was one surgery that became 9, and it was a really rough patch. But this time, I just chose to look at it differently, and I in that interview, I reminded people that our bodies are incredibly fragile, but they're also phenomenally resilient, but ultimately temporary. And so we've got to just take advantage of our days. We got to live our days. And it was funny that, we thought maybe if we got like 10,000 shares on that interview that we were doing our job and we're, helping people. It was shared 35 million times. So I was like, okay, there's something here that needs to be heard. And it didn't feel right. We created the Live Your Days platform then, and it just didn't feel right to do it then. It just, there's a lot of other things going on. And so during COVID, the people I was working with 4 years ago, we reconnected and we said, now we need to really build and present this thing because people are suffering and they need to be encouraged and they need to be reminded that, so much of our lives right now is that the tail's wagging the dog and man, no, we're the dog and we wag the tail. And so we need to, just be reminded and rise up and just understand the power and the opportunity that each day presents and to not let it slip by. We need to live our lives fully. And if we can, collect our really great days, it becomes a life well lived, and so Live Your Days is an encouragement digital platform, and it's a podcast, and it's a store, and it's where we can have these things that remind us to live our days, and the store part of it is really cool because the shop, I should say, because the percentage of the proceeds goes directly to cancer research and my CARES Foundation. So we're trying to do good for people and in that do good in the community and try to save lives and to remind people that, this is precious. Today is amazing and incredible and an opportunity, and we gotta take it by the horns and just make it happen.
And Scott, how have you personally been living your days? I mean, I know it's been distant for everybody, but just an example for folks to, even when they can't get out and do anything, maybe an example of something that you guys were able to fill time with.
Well, it's funny. I travel too much. I work too much, and I take on too much. And when the kind of the quarantine lockdown happened, oh my goodness, my direct day-to-day interaction with my children was spectacular. We have dinner around the table every night. We cook together. We play cutthroat Uno. We would share, kind of our joys and fears, and it was so important that time happened, especially now because they're high schoolers and tweens, and it was just such a precious time for us, and we chose to take advantage of it and to do really fun things. I'd binge watch a show with my youngest son, and then we'd finish that one and we'd start a new one, and we would just go on walks, and it was just amazing, and it was great. And in that, we're building Live Your Days while we're doing that, and it was just a reminder that we've got to encourage each other, and we've got to invest in each other. And my coach would always tell me the human is a social animal. We cannot survive without each other. And during these lockdown quarantine periods, we a lot of people were forced into isolation, and it's unhealthy, and it's awful. So building this platform, we really wanted to just pour into other people's lives and remind them, who they are and what their, whatever their mission is in life, they should get to it. And if you're going to build a strong foundation in your life, it's on 4 legs, right? One is physical. You got to take care of your body. Another is emotional. You got to take care of your heart. And the way that, you're able to appreciate yourself. Another one is intellectual, and be interested in things and be interested in growing your understanding of the world around you. And the last one is spiritual, and really celebrating who you are to a living, loving creator, and how every life is meant to be redeemed and celebrated and lived joyfully and productively and abundantly. So, we've really had a great time building this. There's a 30-day challenge in there where people can sign up, and every day they'll get another challenge that's meant to kind of shore them up and to nourish them in some really profound way. So we're really excited.
And Scott, I want to make sure and let our listeners know where they can get in touch with the Live Your Days platform as well.
Well, it's liveyourdays.com. I mean, we were really lucky that we got the URL. So it's liveyourdays.com, and in there, you can navigate to the different platforms, things that I do. You can navigate to my CARES Foundation from there, and in this time we've seen so many nonprofits just crumble, and we were really lucky that we're small enough to survive this, but we're large enough that we've had great impact, and it's a beautiful thing. The first episode was kind of me introducing the Live Your Days platform, and then next week Robin Roberts is going to be helping us celebrate breast cancer awareness, and after that, my dear friend Marcus Whitney, who's an entrepreneur, who's one of the owners of the Nashville Soccer Club. And then after that, we got, Kevin Nealon and Bart Miller to Mercy Me and Christy Yamaguchi and all these incredible perspectives and kind of against all odds lives that they've lived. How do you become an Olympic ladies champion when you're born with club feet? And, how do you become a comedic actor without even really knowing how to tell a joke? And how do you become a host of Good Morning America? When you're, it's incredible to hear these life stories and to be inspired, by the fact that putting one foot in front of the other, pretty soon you've kind of finished a marathon, and it's just an amazing platform, and I hope it does the work that we've designed it to do.
Well, Scott, I'm sure it will, and appreciate all the work that you do to give back, and always great to visit with you, Scott. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and look forward to visiting again real soon, my friend.
Well, God bless you, and live your days.
Again, thanks for joining us for this episode of Good Questions with Cameron Dole, and if you ever have a comment, a question, or anything else you'd like to know, find me on Instagram, Twitter, and on my Facebook page at GQ with Cam. If you'd like to help with the funding for this podcast, feel free to click the support tab and follow the instructions. Also, if you have a special guest idea, be sure and drop me an email, Cameron@kwhw.com. We'll see you for episode 29 coming up tomorrow.